Bali governor says rabies and visa-free entry revocation not affecting tourism. And direct flights from Denpasar to Port Moresby begin today. That's July 2nd. Hooray. Welcome to the latest news from Bali and Indonesia. This is July 2nd, 2023. Selamat siang. My name is Bruce. What is the weather like today? Well, we got rain for the first time in, 4, 5, 6 weeks yesterday here in Kampung Bugis and up north. And there's rain apparently is going on around the island right now. I hear from my son-in-laws that it is raining a lot in Ubud where they are down at a food festival or something. Right now it is not raining, but it is, wow, really cloudy and hot and muggy. 33.2 degrees Celsius. Humidity is only 56%. Wind speed is almost zero, 2.1 kilometers per hour. And so, not the best weather. Okay, lots of stuff going on here. We had Idul Fitri just finished, and 2 birthdays, one after the next, and planning for a wedding, which is going to be coming up. And there's going to be some videos on that. If you want to see a Muslim wedding up here in North Bali, stick around. In a couple of weeks, we'll be starting the first one on the 16th, the first part. This is a long process. And so there's going to be a number of videos on this. If you want to find out something beyond hotels and restaurants, find out something about the culture, well, come back in a couple of weeks if you're not interested in the news. And you'll find some cultural stuff going on about a Muslim wedding here. And, well, I've gone through a couple of them. This is going to be a little different because it's the first time that we've got a boy being married here in the family, my son, Sam, and so it's going to be a little different than when the daughters got married. So that's coming up in a couple of weeks. So let's take a look at what the governor has to say about this ongoing problem with rabies and the revocation of the visa-free visit, which has not been around anyway since the pandemic started. Bali tourism unaffected by revocation of visa-free entry and rabies, says governor. So the Bali administration said that tourism in the province has not been affected by all of this stuff, the revocation of the visa-free entry for tourists from 159 countries and the outbreak of rabies. The governor said this last week. He said, so far, we have not witnessed any problems that hinder Bali's tourist visits. In fact, Bali is fully booked until August, Okay, fully booked? I doubt it. The governor said that some parties predicted that the revocation of visa-free entry for tourists from the 159 countries would lead to a decline in the number of international tourist visits to the province. But he said, no, that is not true. He said, I'd like to inform everyone that Bali is experiencing an increase in international tourist visits. So rabies and the visa issue and other factors circulating among the public, it does not harm Bali's tourism in any way. So all you people that keep saying bad stuff, be quiet. And he stressed that there's nothing preventing tourists from visiting Bali. Instead, he said the number keeps increasing, which has positively affected the province's economy. The governor further informed that the heads of the province's agricultural office and health office are working together to handle the rabies outbreak. And so what about the rabies outbreak? I'm kind of bunching all these together today. Rabies cases in Bali, including 13 provinces with the highest cases in Indonesia. Residents are starting to become aware of vaccinations. So there are stories in the local press everywhere now about rabies are happening here, dog bites happening here. And so this is an ongoing problem. The government is vaccinating dogs. They're increasing the vaccination rate and hoping that they're going to be able to handle the rabies cases that way. The Director General of Livestock and Animal Health, Ministry of Agriculture of the Republic of Indonesia, said while he was attending a mass rabies vaccination over here in Sempidi that we have to work together to deal with rabies. He said, bearing in mind that these dogs do not belong to us, the government, but belong to the community, we need the cooperation with the community. He said the problem in Bali is that there are so many stray dogs, it makes it difficult to take action quickly. And if you've been around, you know there's a lot of stray dogs here. Even though it's difficult, his party believes that cooperation will be able to solve the rabies problem. He said, I'm sure that Bali, whose people adhere to religion, culture, and customs, will be able to work together in handling rabies as a group. We can also see that the implementation of the vaccine, the people are voluntarily bringing their dogs to traditional village hall in order to be vaccinated. He said continued education and outreach continues to be needed so that all people will want to vaccinate their pets. And he has asked people not to let your dogs out wandering in the streets. Put collars on them. Make sure that they cannot get out and bother people or get in contact with dogs that do have rabies. And if you find a dog that you suspect of having rabies, you should report it to the authorities quickly as possible. And as I said in the last video, if you even get a scratch from a dog or a monkey or a cat or a bat, report it and go in and get checked, and they will give you a shot. Better safe than dead. Okay, and here's a big story. Now, I know a lot of people are going to go, what big deal? For me, it's a big deal. Okay, this is a big deal for me because it concerns Papua New Guinea and direct flights to Papua New Guinea from Denpasar, which I have been waiting for years. I used to work in Papua New Guinea. I love the country, love the culture. It's a fantastic place. If you have not visited, it's really worth going. It's not cheap. It's definitely not cheap. And the flight, well, we'll get to the flights. Let's get started with this. Citilink connects Indonesia and Papua New Guinea. Fly directly Bali to Port Moresby round trip. So Citilink Airline has again improved connectivity between countries by launching a new international flight route from Bali's Igusta Ngurah Rai Airport and going into Jackson's Port Moresby International Airport. And this started today, 4 o'clock this morning, actually. The opening of the latest international route is a historic moment for both countries and also for Citilink in particular, because Citilink is the first Indonesian airline to make a direct flight that connects Indonesia with Papua New Guinea. Flights for the Denpasar Papua New Guinea route operate twice a week, Thursdays and Sundays, and the flight schedule is Denpasar Papua New Guinea QG598 takes off at 4 o'clock here, gets into Port Moresby at 11 local time, and leaves Port Moresby at 12 o'clock local time and is in Bali at 14:55. And so this is so cool. Now, this is not cheap, okay? This is about 10 million rupiahs if you go on Thursday. If you go on Sunday, it's more. The price goes up on Sunday. So this is not a cheap flight. I mean, you've got to have some money to do this. And in PNG, getting around is not cheap either. Transport is expensive. Places to stay are more expensive. Then you're not going to find cheapo places like you do here in Bali. You'll notice that if you go to, for example, the Raja Ampat, you're paying a lot more for a place in Raja Ampat than you are in Bali for the same standard. Okay, so if you want to go to PNG, and some of my favorite places in PNG, well, of course, there's the Trobriand Islands, Adobo Island, fascinating, and anywhere down along the coast, as you go up the coast. I've been through a number of small villages there, really, really fascinating, and beautiful water, nice place to snorkel, nice place to dive. A lot of people speak English, so if you're worried about languages, no. There are some security issues that you have to think about, and you need to decide where you're going to go. But I just love the country, and so I feel like I'm acting like a tourist guide. But there's only 2 places I want to go in the time I've got left on this planet, and one is to go back to the Malukus and spend a couple of weeks there without having to talk to tourists and stuff like I did when I was working there. And the other is to go back to PNG and spend some time there, a month or 2, also, again, without having to tag along with tourists and explain things to them, just where I can actually get more into the culture. And so if you've got nothing to do and you've got some money, you've got a long vacation, go to PNG. Cool place. Okay, and earthquakes. Right, we got earthquakes over in Java. We had an earthquake yesterday, 6.4 over in the Jogja area. The Indonesian Meteorology, Climatology, and Geophysics Agency stated that the earthquake had a magnitude of 6.4, and it rocked the Regency of Bantul, special region of Jogja, on Friday night. The earthquake had no potential for a tsunami, but reminded the public to stay alert for possible aftershocks. And the earthquake struck twice. At first, it was felt in the urban areas of Jogja, and then later it spread out, and it was felt over at the Mount Merapi station there. But they said that Mount Merapi was not being affected by the earthquake, and so that's some good news. And Mount Merapi, by the way, is still on alert status. And at least 10 people were injured, while one person died suspected of a heart attack that happened during the quake. The tremor did do damage to hundreds of homes and offices and health facilities in the Jogja area. And that was as of, what's today? It's Sunday, right? As of yesterday. Okay, let's go on to the next one. And this is some tourism-related stuff. And here's the title of an article that is, it's clickbait. Okay, I'm sorry, it is clickbait. It's not just the foreigners that do the YouTube things here, and they have these. You have to find a secret place in Bali. What secret place in Bali? There's no secret places in Bali. Every place in Bali has been gone to by people for thousands of years. Well, this one, I love this one. Foreigners advised not to perform pornographic actions. Now, in this article, that is mentioned, it's like a sentence out of the whole thing here. So the title is just ridiculous. The Klungkung police held Operation Nusa Agung, and I talked about that, and it is still ongoing for a few more days, targeting foreign citizens in the Nusa Penida district in Klungkung. Members distributed appeal brochures regarding traffic rules, using the proper helmets when driving, and not engaging in pornographic activities. Okay, that's the extent of pornography in this. The head of ops for the Klungkung police said that these brochures were being passed out so that traffic was done in an orderly way by foreigners, and so that there were no violations and no traffic accidents. And government members are out monitoring Klungkung Beach and Banjar New Harbor and Golden Triangle Harbor in Nusa Penida. And so they are out keeping an eye on foreigners to make sure that everything is hunky-dory, especially during the Idul Adha period, well, which is over now. And tourists during the Idul Adha period increased by 25%. Wow, okay, that's a big one. There's an average of 1,364 visits per day in May, and that increased by 25%. The number is still dominated, however, by foreign tourists. So you remember in the last video, I was talking about the Russian who beat up some parking attendant because he moved his motorcycle. And well, I thought, he's going to do some jail time here. Because the person that he beat up, the parking attendant, said no, he is not prosecuting him. Treatment of rupees 2 million paid. Case of Russian Caucasian hitting parking attendant ends in peace. And so the beating case, which went viral on social media, and it was handled initially by the Klungkung Police Criminal Unit. However, the parking attendant said he wanted to make peace with the Russian who hit him. Both of them agreed to settle down in exchange for treatment costs by the foreigner for the victim of the beating, 2 million rupees. That's it. Peace is done, and he will not be going to jail. Now, the police are not going to continue on a case against him, but what is immigration going to do? No mention of that in this article. I haven't heard anything. If anybody's heard any updates about this, please leave a comment and let me know. And that's it for today. This is a short one. Nothing else going on. It's kind of a quiet period here. nationwide for news, which is good. And I'm hoping that the problem I had last time with the going in and out of focus is solved by taking off to reducing the settings for the autofocus all the way down to minimal. Okay, and that is it. I hope the weather improves if you're here so that you can have a good time and hang out in the sun and have some bintangs and contribute to the local economy. Thanks for viewing. Be kind to someone today. Stay safe, and I will see you next time.